Okay, this episode had a lot more in the way of changes. My opinion overall is still positive, but there were more cracks in this episode compared to the previous few. We start with Percy and Annabeth waking up at the resort, and thank every god, they don't immediately know who Cece is. Also, Hyla's there. And it looks like Tyson and Clarice didn't make it, but Percy isn't willing to give up hope yet. But then the episode moves into the main focus, which is fatal flaws. Cece finally shows up, and we see a warrior named Stagros attempt to leave the island, but it's right next to the lair of the Sirens, and he gets eaten. His fatal flaw is bravery. Cece manipulates Percy and Annabeth, trying to convince them that training at her spa and resort is what they need to get past the Sirens. Once again, we switch to Clarice's perspective, and she falls into a trap set by Polyphemus. Grover sees her when she's brought into the lair, and he's still in the wedding dress. Clarice, of course, figures out a way to cut herself free, and then they get to work on Grover's escape plan. One thing I really like about this scene is that it doesn't show us what Polyphemus looks like until later, helping preserve the intimidation of the big bad. Back to Percy and Annabeth, they have new clothes, and now Annabeth figures out that Cece is Circe when she sees her perform some magic. But Circe insists that she's different now, and it at least convinces them to look into her mirror, and it shows Percy everything that he feels guilt about, including how he treated Tyson, and he feels guilty enough to give up on leading the quest. Cutting back to Clarice, we see that the escape attempt doesn't work, and Polyphemus sees Grover without the wedding veil, giving his true identity away, or so he would have Grover believe. Back on Circe's island, we see that all of the residents are demigods, and most of them don't leave, and all the heroes that have made it past the Sirens were able to do so because Circe helped them cheat. She gave them the same wax used by Odysseus, wax from the god of beekeeping. Then Circe reveals her backstory of feeling the pain of all the heroes constantly leaving her when they washed up on her island, which made her more sympathetic than I was anticipating. I think this is also supposed to be set up for Percy meeting Calypso later on, but I don't think this was really necessary, and it unfortunately does echo a lot of the weird changes with Season 1. Now she decides to turn Percy into a guinea pig, and we get one of my favorite additions the show made. All the guinea pigs that used to be men can understand each other, and Percy can understand them now with subtitles! Clarice tries to help Grover break out again, and she confesses that the prophecy said she would die. Then it's revealed that Grover was gagged this entire time, and Polyphemus knew Grover was a satyr this whole time, and was just using him as bait. This is a change I'm okay with, as I've thought about it a little more, and I actually kind of like it. For all the presence Polyphemus' eye has in the marketing of both the book and the show, he was a bit of a throwaway antagonist in the book. Just another encounter in the quest, albeit a challenging one. So making him more intimidating, especially when you factor in the show's ability to shift away from Percy's perspective, really works for me. Meanwhile, Annabeth is back and she knows her fatal flaw, and she confesses a whole lot in this scene, about how she feels regarding Percy's relationship with his mom, in contrast to her relationship with her own mother. But she notices that Percy can control the water even as a guinea pig. That was actually something I wondered about reading the book as a kid for the first time. So then Annabeth uses the Hermes vitamins that counter Cece's magic, and turns Percy and all the pirates back into themselves, and Percy gets the wax they need for their quest. Unfortunately, there's only enough wax for one of them, but that doesn't matter because Cece takes it back. Percy ends up being the one tied to the mast, and Annabeth actually goes to the Sirens' Island. And she sees that she wants to help heal the divide between Percy and Luke. She also wants to think she can fight through the Sirens' illusion and gain her mother's favor, which we see with another vision. It was a double fake-out, but it honestly works since what we saw in the books would have broken the show's budget, and this still gets the point across. Annabeth's fatal flaw is hubris, and Percy has to pull her out. I'm a bit taken aback by the fact that Percy was able to pull her out with no wax in his ears, but what the show went for still works to get across the same character beats as the book. Then the episode ends with them arriving at Polyphemus' island, with Percy recognizing the coordinates. In the preview for the next episode, we see Tyson having survived the explosion. Then we see what is clearly a dream with Kronos, oddly enough, and more of the Golden Fleece and Polyphemus heading them off. Final thoughts. This episode, despite my skepticism over the extent of the weird changes, still managed to avoid the problems I had with Season 1, since it successfully got across the same characterization and theming as the corresponding chapters in the book. It also managed to tackle 2 encounters from the book in relatively seamless fashion, thanks to how it blended them together. I'm still skeptical of potential changes that could be made, but this season is overall a lot better than the first in terms of adapting the same ideas as the book while making it still feel fresh, and fitting the format of a TV series. I have high hopes that Season 3 will be another step up from there. I'm Kylan Mythos, and I will see you all next time for the Battle with Polyphemus.